You are not supposed to hear this. This recording does not exist in any official archive. It was found by accident, in an old box, on which 3 words were written in faded ink. A. Einstein, April 1955. No one knows who made the copy. The original disappeared, but the sound remained, and what you are about to hear was never meant to reach our ears. Pause. The rustle of tape. I know they will not hear this, or they will not want to. But I must speak. Quiet breathing. I lived my life among formulas. I searched for the law that connects everything. And I found it, but not in the equations, in the silence between them. A long silence. Then almost a whisper. When the heart slows down, you begin to see not with your eyes. I see light, not the outer one. It is inside, as if space itself has become transparent, and behind it, something alive. Not God, not a figure, a consciousness that breathes with me. The rustle of paper, the sound of a pen. He writes as he speaks. Death is not a moment. It is a process, not a break, but an unfolding, as if time stops flowing and becomes a circle. He coughs, then quietly adds, I was afraid to die like everyone. But now I understand. Death does not destroy consciousness. It changes the point of view. You can hear him smile, tired but sincere. If someone had told me this 20 years ago, I would have laughed. But now I do not believe. I know. We continue. Pause. I saw images, not people, but imprints of presence, like the memory of light about those who left. They do not speak, but you feel them, like a thought, painfully familiar. At the bottom of the transcript, a handwritten note. At this moment he stopped breathing for several seconds, then returned. I was on the other side for a few moments, but there are no moments there. Everything at once. And suddenly I understood. We never get lost. Nothing disappears. We only change the form of perception. He falls silent. Then, almost whispering, I am recording this because I know. No one will believe. They will say, old man hallucinations, lack of oxygen. Let them. But if someone ever reads these words, do not look for proof. It is inside you. He takes a deep breath. I tried to explain everything through formulas, but formulas are only symbols. Truth is in the experience, in the realization that consciousness is primary, matter is its trace, not its cause. He is silent for a few seconds, then quietly adds, if this is true, and I know it is, then a human being is immortal, not the body, the consciousness. And if this becomes known, everything will change. Everything. A sharp pause. He breathes heavily. I tried to speak about this before, but they made it clear to me, better not. A scientist should not speak about the soul. That's what they told me in 49. Since then, I kept silent. He laughs wearily. I thought I was protecting science. But maybe I was just afraid. Today, I am no longer afraid. The noise of the tape grows louder. Before death, a person loses the body but not knowledge, and I want this knowledge to remain. Everything we call life is only the training to see, and death is the exam. And after it, you finally understand what you were learning. Pause. The last line on the tape. If they hear this, let them know. We are going home. Not everyone just remembers the way. Click. The tape ends. The recording continues. The same quiet voice, but now there is steel in it. I stayed silent for a long time. Not because I doubted, but because I saw what happens to those who say too much. You can show people a formula, and they will believe you. But if you show them the soul within the formula, they will lock you in silence. He clears his throat. After the war, they invited me to closed discussions. They asked me about the field effects of consciousness. That's what they called it. I told them the truth, that what we observe is not matter but the reflection of consciousness. A week later, all the papers disappeared. They hinted, deal with atoms, not with questions of life after death. He sighs. Science and power always play in alliance when it comes to control. It's convenient for them when a person fears nothing. Fear is the most reliable formula of obedience. A quiet pause. But when my heart stopped for the first time, I saw what they are so afraid of. Calm, understanding, freedom. He speaks evenly, without pathos. You do not die. You open. Like a window into another room. I saw everything I had done, and realized that every thought has weight. Not one disappears. They form fields, layered like the atmosphere. We live in one of them, and beyond, there are more. He makes a note on the paper. I cannot prove this with a formula, but if you look for hints in mathematics, they are there. The connection between energy and information, that is no coincidence. Consciousness is also energy, just finer. Pause. Power will always hide what makes a person free inside, because a free person does not obey fear. He obeys conscience, and conscience cannot be controlled. Another cough. A long pause. I see faces, not ghosts, reflections of life. Every choice, a mark on the surface, and when the light falls at an angle, the marks reveal themselves. That is why you must live your life so that you are not ashamed of that light. He smiles. They tell me, Einstein, you deceived God. No. I simply understood that he doesn't hide behind the clouds. He is in the equation. In the order born of chaos, in logic that is more honest than any dogma. At the bottom of the transcript, a technician's note. At this moment the sound becomes weaker, but the speech remains clear. I see something simple. We are all one structure. When the body dies, the link does not disappear. It changes the level of connection. And if you understand this while alive, fear leaves. Responsibility remains. A quiet breath. I know they will take this recording, but everything they take is always found again. When the time comes, someone will hear. Not me. The meaning. He stops. The meaning is simple. Nothing disappears. Even the shadow of a thought remains in the fabric of the world. If you understand this, hatred becomes impossible. The tape hisses. You can hear him moving a pencil. I was a scientist. I was supposed to stay silent. But a man who has seen that life does not end has no right to leave others in fear. A click. Silence. Then quietly, almost in a whisper. When you find this recorded noise, you will understand that all of this was for one reason, so that you stop being afraid and start thinking. Pause. And if you feel that, it means power has already lost. The noise fades into an even hum. The recording continues, but the voice becomes softer, as if he is no longer speaking into a recorder, but into time itself. The tape keeps rolling. The sound becomes a little steadier, the breathing weaker, but the voice clear, without trembling. You want to know what I saw there, where there is no time? All right, it's not a place, not space, it's a structure, as if thought itself had taken form. There is no light and no darkness there. There is awareness. Pause. You can hear him take a sip of water. You don't lose yourself, but what kept you from seeing disappears. Pride, fear, the lies you hid behind. Only what was real remains. And then you understand that everything you did, everything you thought, didn't vanish. It became part of a common field. We call it morality, conscience, karma. The names don't matter. What matters is that it's the physics of meaning. He smiles faintly but sincerely. All my life I searched for a formula that would unite the forces of nature, but it seems I was looking in the wrong direction all along. This formula cannot be written. It can only be lived. Pause. Death is not a point. It's a mirror. There you see not God and not a judge. You see yourself, the real you. And if you lived for gain, for fear, for power, there are no excuses. Not because you are punished, but because there is no one left to deceive. He pauses, then quietly adds, "It is the most terrifying and the most honest test. Death is not a punishment. It is an exam in humanity." The tape crackles. You can hear rain falling somewhere outside the window. I saw those who could not leave. They were stuck in their fears. It's not hell, it's habit. They don't believe they can go out. But there is always a way to understand, to forgive, to let go. He sighs. We create our own worlds even after death. Consciousness keeps playing the same role until it learns another. This is not religion. It's a law. The voice grows more confident. You ask, where is the proof? It will come. But later. Humanity is too busy with wars to see the simple. We search for eternity in formulas, but it lives in our actions. He laughs briefly. Funny, isn't it? All I ever wanted was an equation that would explain life, and it turned out to be not in the laboratory, but in the heart. Pause. If consciousness doesn't die, then everything has meaning, every pain, every choice. And if people knew this for sure, the world would be different. But power cannot control those who do not fear the end. So they hide this truth behind the words myth, faith, superstition. They need people to believe that everything ends with the last breath. He catches his breath as if gathering his last strength. They are not afraid of truth. They are afraid of free people. A man who no longer fears death ceases to obey. The tape rattles slightly. I don't blame them. I understand. The world is not ready for freedom without fear, but one day it will be. He quietly repeats, one day it will. Pause. Then a little louder. The meaning of life is not to accumulate, not to prove, but to understand everything you do will echo. And if you want to change the world, start with a thought, because thought is the fastest form of energy. It creates more than an atomic reaction. He chuckles, as if he can't believe he's saying it aloud. All my life I proved that energy and mass are equivalent, but now I know. Consciousness is also energy, just of a different density. When the body dies, this energy doesn't disappear. It returns to its source. We call it death. But in truth, it is returning to oneself. Silence. If I had said this earlier, they would have laughed at me. But if you hear these words now, it means the time has come. He takes his last sip of water. Do not believe those who build truth on fear. Truth does not require fear. It requires honesty. Pause. When I'm gone, let only this remain. A human is not a body, and life is not the gap between birth and death. It is the process of understanding, and if you live consciously, you are already immortal. A click of the tape, almost silence. There's still one more piece of the recording, the final part, where he speaks directly to those who will live after him. The hiss of the tape becomes steadier. You can hear him breathing, short, uneven, but confident. There is no weariness left in his voice, only quiet calm. I don't know if I'll live until morning, but perhaps someone will hear these words. Let this not be a confession. Let it be a reminder. Pause. All my life I've watched how man builds his world on fear. Fear of losing, fear of dying, fear of being mocked. But fear is a poor architect. It builds only prisons, prisons within us. He speaks slowly, as if weighing every word. We made science our God, but science is only a way to ask the right questions. God is the answer that lies not in formulas but in honesty. We proved the speed of light, but forgot to prove the meaning of goodness. And without that, any formula turns into a weapon. He pauses, the sound of paper rustling. All my life I tried to understand order, and now I see order begins not with equations but with honesty before oneself. It doesn't matter who you were, a scientist, a soldier, a worker. What matters is who you became inside. If you can feel another's pain, you have understood the essence of life. The voice grows a bit softer but warmer. They'll ask why I say this before death. I'll answer simply, because there's nothing else left to say. Everything else is noise. A quiet pause. I'm not speaking of miracles. I'm speaking of knowledge that is hidden behind fear. Truth doesn't need to be proven. It needs to be remembered. We didn't come into the world. We came from it. We are part of one consciousness, studying itself through us. At the bottom of the transcript, a note. Breathing becomes rare, but the voice remains steady. You think death is the end. No, it's a transition into a more precise state. There are no judgments there, no lies, no excuses. They don't ask who you were, they ask who you became. He pauses as if listening to his own thoughts. If people knew this, wars would end on their own, because to kill another is to kill a part of yourself. We are one whole. We just got too fascinated with division. The tape rattles slightly. He chuckles softly. We call it physics, but it's not physics. It's the language of the universe, and maybe someday we'll learn to speak it again. Pause. When I die, don't look for me in the ground. I'm not there. I'm in the air, in words, in everyone who thinks, in everyone who seeks meaning. His voice grows quieter. Death is not disappearance. It's a change of dimension. And if there is love in a person, it passes through everything. It is the only energy that does not obey time. Pause. They can hide the recording. They can cut out the lines. But they cannot erase the thought that has already been understood. Truth doesn't live in archives, it lives in people. He takes a short breath. You'll ask why I recorded this. Because time is leaving, but meaning remains. Let these words someday help someone stop being afraid. His voice becomes softer, almost a whisper. I don't know if they'll hear, but if they do, that's enough. Not for me, for themselves. The tape noise is almost gone. All my life I searched for the theory of everything, and I think I've finally understood. Everything is consciousness learning to love, and love is the only force not bound by time. He pauses briefly, as if smiling. 12 hours from now, I may be gone, but it's not the end. It's just a new chapter. The rest you'll see for yourselves. The hissing softens, as if someone lowered the volume, then a short click, and silence. Not a finale, just the end of the recording.